Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mac and D. As always, I'm joined by James DJ Diesel. How you doing, buddy?
Mac, I'm perturbed. All right.
So,
We were able to get a coworker of ours, a boss of ours even, to listen to this podcast. His greatest compliment, one Mr. Nick Bobrowski, was I like that you guys aren't funny or that you're not entertaining. Right? It's like, wow, what a slap in the face. Nick, if you're listening, I appreciate it. Glad that you don't find us entertaining. Glad you're back.
hey, I mean, saying we're professional doesn't necessarily mean that we're bad, but yeah, no, it is interesting trying to find a niche in this whole area, right? Like fantasy sports in general is like relatively oversaturated, so it's like, what do you do? Do you just list off a ton of facts? But then there's also those people like on ESPN that have all the facts, all the stats, all the interns that are able to just get a ton of information thrown at you. And then there's the people that are just pure entertainment. And it's like, as much as I think we're pretty funny, good, fun-loving dudes, I don't think we're necessarily going to be like a Bill Burr level entertainer anytime soon. So somewhere between just a couple of guys that are like having a bar kind of conversation, I think is kind of where we land in our sweet spot. But we're 3 years in. I don't really know where we stand. We probably need to do a little bit of brainstorming on that. So yeah, one day we'll figure it out. One day, 10 years from now when we're still doing this for sure,
Of
for
course.
sure. So James, I don't want to start us off with anything like too heartbreaking, but I mean, we do need to talk about it. Two guys that have probably gotten maybe way too much airtime on this podcast, Jabril Peppers and Kendrick Bourne, both got cut from the New England Patriots this week. How are you feeling, buddy? You doing okay?
Kendrick Bourne, I'm indifferent, right? He hasn't really played the last two seasons. We had a 9-man wide receiver core. Like he had a couple good, good years for us, but not like some crazy crowd favorite. Jabril hurts. You and I talk, we'll do the Turkey Bowl. He's the kind of guy that I'm like, I want this jersey, right? Like I was so amped up. I'm such a big Jabril guy. Last year when he decapitated Devonte Adams to get a forced fumble slash interception, whatever it was, like that's real football. Jabril Peppers is true safety play in a postmodern era. Um, I guess he just technically doesn't fit the scheme that Vrabel is trying to run. He made a tweet where he's like, "Look, I don't have a scheme. I work everywhere." Kind of agree with Jabril, but you got to stick with your guns on this one. I guess he just didn't quite fit. He might have lost a step. I don't know. I'm gonna always love the guy though.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kendrick Bourne leaving the New England Patriots, honestly, is again kind of like we were talking about, where it's like addition by subtraction. These are the guys that probably shouldn't be on the roster anymore, but are just hanging around because the Patriots have not been a good team over the last couple of years. But them leaving is a signal of, hey, the quality of the overall roster is increasing slowly but surely, kind of that rising tide in a lot of ways. However, we definitely lose out on one of the best fantasy names of all time. Jesus Christ, it's Kendrick Bourne. That's unfortunate. We no longer can do that if he's not going to be on a roster, but he might find his way onto a team as a, third or fourth receiver that's just a burner. But yeah, the Jabril Peppers one was definitely the bigger head scratcher, and it's simply because his talent is still there. It really feels like between him and Kyle Duggar that Mike Vrabel is just not loving these smaller dudes that just aren't huge, heavy guys, heavy hitters. He prefers those type of dudes that can really get in the box and be almost a linebacker type guy. It's very interesting the direction that Vrabel is taking the New England Patriots, and it almost feels like this might be the precipice that kind of gets the smaller D-back out of the NFL a little bit. That's been the big thing right now. Everybody's going to these dime and nickel coverages that require, those 5'5" cornerbacks basically. Makes you wonder if like we're kind of leaning towards a bigger NFL going forward and Vrabel's just trying to get on the cutting edge of that.
Yeah, that's right. Both of these guys fit Belichick's kind of mantra of like, I can draft the best DBs in the world. Therefore, I'm going to play nickel all the time because I want seven DBs out there. They're too small to be linebackers, too slow to be pure coverage guys, but they're really good as hybrid safeties. I mean, to your point, that it feels like that, especially with the Milton signing, with who's the other interior lineman? I mean, we extended Barmore, at least have Barmore, right? Like, I think Vrabel's like, no, we're playing base 4-3. Like, we are playing some heavies out there. You got to get through us. Um, we'll see if it works. I mean, our division doesn't. really play into that all that well, right? I mean, we have to face the Dolphins who are fast as hell. We have to face the Bills who are fast as hell. Maybe it's just he wants linebackers out there that are actually big enough to like tackle Josh Allen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, just gotta trust the new coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that'll be very curious to see. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna be upset that I don't have to try and spell Jabril every single week anymore because I'd be trying to move that L into different places. I
You
turn it into
say
one
that
L. I can't do it,
he's
man.
gonna sign with the Lions, dude. You guys need DB depth.
I wouldn't be mad about it. That would be a really great depth piece. I mean, hell, we were signing Jamal Adams by the end of last year and Quan Alexander, dudes that have no business being in the
We
NFL
could both
anymore.
agree Jabril should stay in shape, right? Like he's gonna get a call at some point this season.
Yeah, and I think Bourne too. I mean, looking at some of these wide receiver depth charts, they're definitely not great. Definitely makes sense though that the Patriots want to get younger at receiver as they, all kind of grow together in a lot of ways. You told me that Gonzo, Christian Gonzalez, is going to be out for week one. Does that give you a little bit of pause going into the Raiders game?
Not confirmed. He just isn't practicing, but like also hasn't practiced for like a month now. I mean, I still think we've got great players. That hurts, right? I mean, you're not going to get to put him on. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be Bowers. I guess it'd be Jacoby. Like, I don't know. We're gonna have to be creative with how we defend them anyways. Like, it's not really the kind of matchup where you desperately need a lockdown corner because they don't have that guy at receiver. Um, but you still want Gonzo out there.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I'm hoping he's healthier sooner or later because I mean, he's the number two overall player in Madden, James. That's what they're telling us. So, I mean, he's truly the best if you listen to those ratings. But yeah, I love watching Gonzo play. I love watching him cook. We'll get into all of our week one previews. That's the whole point of today's podcast. We do have NFL football this week and really excited to break down all of the big matchups. We have four primetime games this year, which is very, very fun. So we'll get to that later in the episode. With it being week one, though, we're getting a lot of these unofficial, official week one depth charts that we always get. A lot of the times they are smoke screens, but James, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on a couple of the depth charts that have just come out, particularly at the running back position. So starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're seeing Jalen Warren as the RB1. Not maybe a huge surprise, but I think a lot of people like myself expected a little or next to his name, where we would see Caleb Johnson be the RB2. But in reality, we have Caleb Johnson at RB3, and we have Kenny Gainwell as the RB2 in Pittsburgh. What's your instant reaction to this?
This one less surprising. We knew Johnson was a later in the season play. I think he's going to still earn touches. I would be shocked if Gainwell actually is out touching him even in the first month of the season. If that's the case, God, those Caleb Johnson takes were brutal from the Mac factory, if you will.
The Mac side of the Mac and D's definitely was pushing a lot of that.
If that's the case too, like I'm never taking your running back ever again.
Yeah, and it's just tough too because I'm just curious to see how much trust Mike Tomlin's willing to put into a rookie, right? Like he doesn't often take those rookie running backs and let them just go crazy. It took Jalen Warren years seemingly in order to build up that confidence. I'm going to be curious though if Jalen Warren kind of turns into Tony Pollard from a few years ago on the Cowboys, where everybody was clamoring for the efficient monster to get more carries. And then we watched Tony Pollard very quickly deteriorate underneath all of that load. So I'm curious to see if that ends up leaning into KJ getting a lot more of those reps. And the thing with KJ is, yeah, very rough preseason, really was pretty inefficient in a lot of their games. But the thing that makes him awesome is his passing game. The dude can just make a man miss in the open field. So I'm excited to see what he can ultimately do in that RB3 role and then elevate himself up as the season goes along. Definitely a bit of a long-term play at this point. I wouldn't say, hey, this is stuff that makes you cut him by any means. He definitely will need to track his snap count as the season goes along. Looking in the Washington Commanders depth chart, though, James, I've been saying whenever that BCM healthy scratch comes in, it's gonna hit pretty hard for me because I was like, hey, this guy's a bit of a fraudster, a bit of a hey, didn't do much in college, don't understand the hype, definitely love that, Brian Robinson got traded. Definitely elevates him higher up the depth chart. But BCM, Bill Krosky Merritt, comes in at RB4 on the Washington Commanders depth chart. How you feeling?
I
Are the tears dry yet?
I refuse to believe it. There's no way how this preseason played out, where it's like you wouldn't say he's clearly going to get like half the workload, especially with the fact he didn't play the entire last preseason game, which is when you're playing guys that are on the cusp of making the roster. Otherwise, if you're not playing preseason 3 or what used to be preseason 4, it's because you're a starter, right? Like you're going to get a workload that no one wants to get you hurt. Like, are we really going to trust what 32-year-old Eckler, 31? I mean, Eckler's bones and dust at this point. um, I mean, if Eckler plays the whole season, he ends up being the steal of the draft, right? If he truly is RB1 getting 15 to 20 touches a game, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like a committee. And as someone who is a big Chris Rodriguez Jr. believer, I'm licking my chops just thinking about what he could be doing in that third down role. Yeah, we got Jeremy McNichols also above him. He'll probably factor into it a little bit. But yeah, like to your point, there's no way Eckler is getting 20, 25, 30 touches. Like in the passing game, for sure. That's his bread and butter. But he just doesn't have that breakaway speed like he used to. And he's just going to deteriorate if they're expecting him to be insane. He only had 400 rushing yards last year, which obviously Eckler's thing has never been rushing. He's never even had a 1,000 yard season rushing. But expecting him to be the RB1 all the time is unrealistic. And it's definitely going to allow for an opportunity for a BCM to probably get a hold of this backfield. But it is weird to have a guy have so much momentum and just immediately knock him to the bottom. That feels like a weird coaching choice in a lot of ways. I don't know. Call me crazy. Moving on, we got Micah Parsons trade. I don't want to bury the lead by any means, but we have to talk about it because it is huge, huge news in the NFL this past week. Micah Parsons gets traded from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers. Do you remember where you were at, James, when you heard the news?
Um, Honestly, no, but I will say it's kind of wild, right? Like every superstar these days does the classic, oh, I think I want to trade as they're, leveraging for the most possible money. And then the GM buckles down and just like, oh, F it. Here's the money we need to keep you on this team because you can't replace this kind of productivity. Jerry Jones says every other GM is zigging. I'm gonna zag. Get this bum out of town. I want 2 first round picks. They might be as good as a Micah Parsons. Who knows? They might be nothing. I'll take an interior defensive lineman, some of the cheapest people to get, and that's all I need for a 3 times All Pro pass rusher under the age of 27.
Yeah. It's like you always say, where it's like, it's the Family Guy meme, right? It could even be a Micah Parsons. Who knows? And I think that's what makes this trade so brutal is, it's not a Max Crosby or a Miles Garrett or, one of these veteran pass rushers that you're trading for, right? Where they have maybe a history of knee injuries. They're, pushing 30 or they're already past age 30. This is 25-year-old just turned 26-year-old Micah Parsons had four of the most dominant seasons to start a career that we've ever seen, four straight seasons with 12 plus sacks. That's a well-known stat at this point. And it's like, what are you so scared of, Jerry? Like, why are you so worried about giving this man transcendent money whenever he's already a transcendent talent at such a young age? Like, I think a lot of people would say, like, the last guy that we saw have this kind of start was Aaron Donald, as a pass rusher. Obviously, not quite the same. We have an interior guy versus an edge, but it's like, what are you so worried about? Like, you really think his age is 26 through 30 season, which is what the Packers signed him to an extension for? You really don't think he's going to be worth 47 million at that point, let alone it's going to be 47 million right now, highest paid non-quarterback in the league. But here in legitimately 1 year, he'll probably be like the fifth highest paid or like the sixth highest paid. Like we know how this market works. I highly, highly doubt there's going to be much regret. And then on the return side of things, I think this was a very strange trade. Only 2 first round picks and Kenny Clark was the return. A first round pick in 2026, first round pick in 2027, both Green Bay Packers picks, and then interior D tackle Kenny Clark, who's already pushing 30, James. Like, I get it. The Cowboys have been whiffing on interior defensive linemen for years. They drafted Mozzie Smith, D tackle out of Michigan in the first round. He hasn't panned out. It's honestly been really, really rough in the NFL. I get it. You needed that kind of steady presence, but it's like all you get was two first round picks. Like, did they shop Micah to anybody else? Like, or did they just call Green Bay direct line? They're like, hey, give me your best offer, and then we'll go from there. Like, my Lions should have offered more if that was available. Like, we definitely would have paired him with Aiden Hutchinson, just had the best pass rush in the league. There's somebody else that was going to be willing to beat this offer. Do you think Jerry Jones called anyone else?
You almost have to assume he didn't at a certain point, because the biggest faux pas here would be you traded with a team that was already a playoff team, and now this pushes them even higher. So like these aren't top 10 first round picks; these are top 28 first round. I mean, like these picks are so low in the first round; they're basically second rounders.
Yeah.
And then the Cowboys will kind of be a middling team, right? So you're going to have the 15th and the 25th pick, or the 15th and the 26th pick. Like it's not this huge value prop unless you're trying to package those and trade up. But then, like again, who are you trading up for? The best pass rusher in the class? Like you're trading up for what you hope is a transcendent edge. You already had that on your team. It doesn't track. It's a bad time to be a Dallas sports fan.
Yeah, no, you make a great point. Like Packers were already a playoff team. They're also the last team that knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs, mind you. And they're only getting better with this Micah trade on top of it all, right? So it's like you're getting the 28th through this 32nd pick for the next couple of years. And it's like, how valuable really is that? The hit rate for picks in that range are really, really low. And honestly, one of the better hit rates is because Lamar Jackson got picked in that range. And outside of him, probably the next best guy is like a George Karlaftis type. And it's like that is that really worth Max Crosby? Probably not. He's almost making as much as Max as a Micah Parsons, which is crazy, you know. So it's very interesting the calculus that Jerry Jones was doing behind the scenes. This really just screams, oh hey, I made up in my mind I was trading Micah Parsons because I'm the best GM in the NFL, and you are going to fall in line, and we are shipping you somewhere else. And it was like whatever the best possible return we reasonably could get, we're just going to take right off the bat. And I just think it's really unfortunate if you're a Dallas fan, right? Like this is a guy that you thought was going to be there forever. People were buying his jersey. People thought that he was going to be the next to Marcus Ware and just be a tentpole at the franchise. And he even came out and said afterwards, it's like, I didn't want to leave Dallas. I only wanted my agent to be able to negotiate my next deal. And Jerry Jones was just not playing ball at all. And it's a shame. I feel like you usually start ragging on a lot of these, NFL players because, they're coming out in the media and they're saying the wrong things and they're really truly not being fair at times. But like this is just not one of those cases. Mike has just seemed like, oh, hey, I just have a podcast, just like us for real, and I just wanted a fair contract. And it's truly a shame if you're a Dallas fan because it's just like, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to rebuild with the 29th pick for the next couple of years and Kenny freaking Clark. Like it's just super unfortunate. And also, the Packers got better, and as a Lions fan, I'm terrified.
I mean, I'm with you. Honestly, the second you find out the Packers will offer two, how do you not just go, okay, in Minnesota, the Packers will offer me two first. Do you want Micah Parsons for more? Let's speed out of the Bears. Like, get the entire division on the phone to say, all right, boys, open auction for Micah Parsons. Who's going to give me the most?
Longtime NFL rival too, with the Cowboys. You traded them in conference to even get them out of your conference. I mean, arguably, I feel like the Cowboys and Packers play all the time in the playoffs. So it's like, do you really want to face that menace again? I saw a lot of people that were like, yeah, Caleb Williams is already requesting a trade. Like he fell to his knees in a Walmart right now because he's terrified. And I
The,
don't
the
blame him
nice
one
thing
bit.
is Tad and I already have our Packers tickets, thankfully, because those Ravens tickets might be moving up on the price charts.
Absolutely. Is it Ravens Packers that you guys are going to?
Yeah.
That'd be sweet, man. That'd be a great, great game to watch. Speaking of games, we'll segue from Micah into week one. Uh, what's really great too about this trade is it happened on August, 28th, and the Cowboys literally play 1 week later. They play on Thursday night to open the NFL season against the Philadelphia Eagles. This has to be just an absolute beatdown, right? Like the Eagles, obviously coming off an incredible emotional high. And you typically see those Super Bowl champ teams kind of disappoint in week one. But like the Cowboys, talk about a gut punch going into week one. This is going to be an Eagles demolition, right?
So I think you have it wrong. I feel like the Super Bowl champs generally come into this game and dominate. The only time I remember that not happening was the like Kareem Hunt breakout game against the Patriots, right? I mean, otherwise it's like the Patriots whomped the Steelers. The Chiefs every year have just dominated this game one, right? Other than I guess the Lions that came into town and surprised them. Um, Eagles are gonna have an emotional high. They're gonna be facing a reeling Cowboys team. I could see the Cowboys really being a letdown here, and it just I mean, just kind of adding to the circus there in Jerry World. On the pop off side, though, all of my CD Lamb stock is so up now because it's like they're going to be down early and often in so many games that him and Pickens are going to be feasting all year.
I had the exact same thought. I'm like, I think that the running back situation has not worked itself out well enough in Dallas yet. It's gonna be the receivers that are going crazy. Got CeeDee Lamb, and I'm also excited to see what George Pickens does. I think he's gonna have some pretty instant chemistry with Dak Prescott. And yeah, they're gonna be needing to throw the ball a bazillion times in this very first game just to be able to keep pace with what the Eagles are about to do to them. Um, Anybody that you're thinking might disappoint in this game? We're kind of doing pop off and disappoint for just for week one, depending on matchups, vibes.
Uh, I think some people with Saquon are going to be hurting when they realize he's only getting 15 carries, especially in these blowout type games. He still might get like 80 yards and a touchdown, but I don't see the Eagles using him the same way they did last year, especially when it's like, hey, we're going to be up by 14 quick, right? Because the Cowboys don't have a great defensive core in general. They could just zip, a couple quick balls over to AJ or to Devonta and have like three touchdowns before you even realize it. And then Saquon can just sit out the rest of the game.
Yeah,
Like, I think some people with Saquon are going to be hurting.
I'm also in the same camp, and this is exactly the guy I was about to say. I'm like, I think we're going to see a lot of Will Shipley. I think we're going to see a lot of AJ Dillon as they try and just rest Saquon for trying to repeat as NFL champs. Moving to a rare Friday night game. Typically, you don't see these in the NFL, especially early on in the season with there being high school football going on. But we got Chiefs Chargers in Brazil in week one. How you feeling about this game?
These games are exciting. I think the problem is it's always like the Mexico game and the Brazil game are like kind of wonky. Like the field's not in great shape, so you don't get the best game, right? Like I think it's going to come down to who can handle maybe some less than stellar field conditions. Like is that an Omarion type game or is that like a Chiefs just grinded out better game management type game? Who knows? It should be good. I mean, these are two pretty solid teams. I think you probably lean Chiefs just because of who they are, but I don't. I think the Chargers could surprise people and get that week one win.
Yeah, no, I think so too. There's just enough chaos going on around the Kansas City organization. The obvious disappoint candidate is Rashi Rice, who's now suspended for week one. You're gonna have a lot of guys who are trying to elevate themselves or just kind of reestablish themselves, like Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. They're all kind of back. And even like Travis Kelce is still trying to get into form a little bit. He's obviously got a lot going on the non-football side of things. So I think there's going to be a lot of, hey, we just need to try and get back to where we're at. And I think that's going to be a bit tough for some of the Kansas City Chiefs players. But I think like a Carl Loftus, I think could have a pretty big pop-off game going against a even more chaotic offensive line for the LA Chargers with Rashawn Slater going down to injury. I think Carl Loftus could end up beasting on that defensive line. I would not expect a normal game in this game at all. I think with all the stuff, like it just keeps going. Najee Harris eye injury. You got Felix Anuke-Uzoma for the Chiefs. He's out for the season. Like it feels like literally the Chiefs and the Chargers have been like the ultimate chaos teams in the AFC West right now, and they just keep going back and forth to see who could have the most chaos going on. So I think this will be a very big tune-up game for both teams, realistically. Moving to Sunday's slate, obviously the day games are crazy. We got all the teams in action for the very first week. Is there a game that you're particularly very excited for?
I think Lions Packers will be a great one, right? That's one I'm definitely watching in that noon slate.
3
Bucks
p.m. slate.
Falcons.
3
Oh,
p.m.
sorry, I
slate.
thought that was the noon slate.
That's
Okay,
the
sorry.
Brady game,
That's
baby.
what
We got
I was
Brady on the
trying.
mic.
I thought maybe the right side was three and the left side was noon. Um,
I'm not
so I
that
mean,
fancy.
Yeah, you're fine. All right. I mean, obviously, I'm a Pats fan, so I'm going to be excited to see how we do. We get, I think, a very winnable Week 1 game. I'm sure every Raiders fan is sitting there going, "We've got a very winnable Week 1 game." So one fan base is going to be depressed when this is over because it's like, "Holy shit, we're still awful." So that'll be interesting. But I think Lions, Packers, Bucks, Falcons might be where my eyes tend to really gravitate.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there like a positional battle you're really excited to see how it works out? I think the top one at top of mind is just like how much is that going to be Ramondre Stevenson versus Antonio Gibson versus the newcomer Travion Henderson, right?
I would like to see Travion get at least 15 touches. I think I've talked. The fear is he gets 10 electrifying touches, and Ramondre and Gibson get about 30 of the most boring 4 yard carries you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, but I mean, with the offensive line improving, you got Will Campbell installed in there. You got Morgan Moses coming into on the right side, Garrett Bradbury at center now. Feels like they're really upgrading some of those touches that the New England running backs get should no longer always just be in the backfield, which has seemingly been what's happened over the last bit. Like it feels like a lot of Ramondre Stevenson's fumble issues have come simply from that of just like, hey, I cannot get any momentum before I'm
Yeah,
getting smacked.
trying to make something happen just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Exactly. So I'm excited to see those two guys cook. I think that that's going to be a big indication of how this season's going to go. And you get a really good tune-up game against the Raiders, it feels like, too. The Raiders are also kind of reeling, especially on that D tackle position, with their release earlier of their top D tackle. So I think this gives a good opportunity for New England to maybe get some momentum. You may not win this game because I could see Geno Smith and the boys definitely balling out, but I think it'll at least give you a chance of like, oh, we lost by a field goal at the very least. Like, hey, that's better than what losing by the 14-21 that we were previously at, and kind of get some early season momentum going before getting into AFC East
Yeah,
play.
do you think Aaron Rodgers is petty enough to see this as a revenge game, Jets Steelers?
Probably,
Like,
probably.
it really shouldn't have any kind of weight to him, but he'll find a way to like throw for 4 touchdowns and be like, "Yeah, they should have never let me go." It's like, dog, you walked away. What are you talking about?
This definitely does feel like a week one Steelers win that then leads into like three straight Steelers losses after all that, hype and media hoopla happens after the Steelers beat the Jets. And it's gonna be like, oh, hey, great, you beat one of the worst teams. You guys put on buckets on your head, just banged them against each other. It's truly a do nothing type of game. But yeah, I mean, I think with DK Metcalf, there's just always that potential for an 80-yard backbreaker touchdown that just completely breaks the Jets' soul. And the Jets just kind of have some of the worst vibes, it feels like, in all the NFL. They released their captains earlier this week, and it's like the strangest assortment of dudes that you could ever imagine. A lot of stuff on the edges of the Jets have also just been super unfortunate, like CJ Mosley retiring, for example. And it's like you can't even get Sauce Gardner as a captain, like I just don't really know what's happening in behind the scenes in that organization, even with Aaron Glenn installing some new blood there. So that really feels like that's going to be a Jets demolition in a lot of ways, or a Steelers demolition of the
Right.
Jets in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Do you think Dolphins Colts is gonna be the worst game of the slate or just the entire weekend?
It's going to be pretty
It
nasty.
has to be like the two worst teams playing each other, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, just it's going to be the Colts just clamoring on defense, just completely beating up that Dolphins offensive line. There's just nothing there at this
Yeah.
point, which is a wild decision to make as a franchise with Tua as your quarterback, right? Like that game is going to be a slugfest, it feels like, even if Tyreek Hill is still able to turn on the Jets like he normally can. The Colts defensive line's great, and there's just no one to be able to block them.
To me, I see that as like a Colts like actually kind of big win, like a 14-point win, giving Indianapolis hope just to end up being like 1-6, by mid-season. Like I think that's like an awesome first game for the Colts. I think the fans are gonna be way too hyped and then quickly come back to life.
Yeah, I kind of see it maybe a little bit further than that. I could see like the Colts winning their first like two or three games because they go Miami, Denver, Tennessee. Like you can get three sneaky wins there if you're okay. And then yeah, like you're saying, they finish like 5-10 for the season, where they just like rattle off a ton of losses at the very end of the year and just really end up struggling.
Then
Mo-
let's say like Titans Broncos did, right? Could
Yeah.
could Cam could Cam Ward have a harder first game in the NFL?
I don't know what the Titans are even supposed to do here, right? Like the Broncos' offensive line, solid. Their front seven, solid. Like it's truly a team that you just don't want to face in week one. And especially with some of the decisions that the Titans are making on the personnel side of things. They're starting a rookie at wide receiver. It doesn't bode well for any sort of outside run game that they're trying to establish with Tony Pollard. I think that yeah, the Broncos are just going to obliterate them, and Cam Ward's going to have a huge welcome to the league moment in a lot of ways. We're running low on time, so we're going to move over to the Sunday night game. We got Ravens Bills. What are you excited about here?
Fun rematch, right, from the playoffs. It's the regular season. I think the Ravens just dog walk them personally. I mean, I, I can the Ravens always early season come out with just some insane, just run them down type plays. Like, I mean, they scored 35 points at Arrowhead last year to start the season, right? I could see the Ravens really coming out hot.
Yeah, Ravens rarely struggle in these like week one primetime games. We're not going to talk about the Peyton Manning 7 touchdown game to open the season. All the others, they always end up usually like losing on a backbreaker, like they did last year against the Chiefs whenever Isaiah Likely was out of bounds, thanks Chiefs refs. But they usually end up having some pretty good success. The emotional high though that the Ravens are going to be feeling here. Like if you're Mark Andrews, like you're putting two hands on that football. You know, you are refusing to drop a single ball because you're going to be seeing ghosts if you're not careful very, very quickly. As a tune-up game though for the Bills, it really feels like they're going to need a couple of weeks just to get everything set. It's going to be a pretty different wide receiver core that they're going to be seeing. And they are still making tweaks. They literally just signed Gabe Davis back on a deal today. It really feels like they're still trying to figure out what they want the whole 53-man roster to be like. Sean McDermott, their head coach, was calling out the team for kind of a lazy preseason and training camp, which is kind of just that level of, monotony that you see whenever you're just there year in, year out. You're in the playoffs. You don't even have to think about it. So I could kind of see them having a bit of a disappointing week one, especially around the offensive line and some of the skill position
Yeah.
guys.
But if they win, I mean, God, you're on a cloud nine because it's like, man, we're not even playing our best ball and we're already beating the Ravens. Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to take this one.
Oh yeah, and I mean the Bills, if they win, they could be looking at a pretty strong undefeated stretch. They go Baltimore, obviously week one, that's brutal, but then it's Jets, Miami, New Orleans, New England, Atlanta, Carolina going into Kansas City. Like I'm
They
not a
could
huge
they could
Bills
start
guy.
8-0 before that Kansas City game.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like they could genuinely be on an awesome stretch and really build up some momentum going towards the playoffs. Um, Yeah, and for guys that I think that could disappoint, I mean, I think the big one for the Ravens in particular is Derrick Henry. And it's kind of the same reasons that we talked about with Saquon Barkley. One, when you have an historical season like both those guys did last year, it's so hard to be able to repeat and live up to expectations. But also, the Ravens are really, really deep at running back whenever you start breaking it down. Justice Hill plays a ton into their passing game. And then last time Keaton Mitchell played, which was almost 2 years ago now, like he was balling out as well and getting a lot of touch in that Harbaugh offense. So like it would not surprise me to see Derrick Henry be a little bit brutal for a lot of people that drafted him pretty highly in this week one game. Whenever they have big stakes games like this, like it'll probably be still pretty good Derrick Henry usage. But whenever they're playing some of those lesser opponents, they're probably going to be taking the foot off the gas, and we're going to see some Patrick Ricard touches realistically at the fullback position because it's just like let's not break his body down too much going into the playoffs.
Yeah, don't disagree. And Monday Night Football, Vikings Bears. This would be the one. Again, just the NFC North is so exciting this year. I want to see JJ McCarthy play. I want to see Caleb Williams play.
Hmm.
Both of them are easily on the pop off disappoint spectrum, right? I mean, Caleb Williams throws for 200 yards, which isn't outside the realm of possibility, possibly less because B-Flow can just, really scheme it up. They're going to be hanging their heads pretty low, right? You're going to say, damn, is Caleb not the guy? Was Ben Johnson the wrong hire? Like, we got all these weapons, like, what for? They haven't meshed yet. So it's so easily could be kind of that letdown game, but the fans aren't ready for that at all. Like, that would be just like, I mean, 6 straight days of talking about that until the Sunday game start again.
Yeah, the hype train for whoever ends up winning this game is going to be insane. Whether it's the JJ McCarthy heads going into year two or Caleb Williams fans, they're going to be insufferable no matter what happens, especially for me as a
Right.
Lions fan.
Well, and the fans want a high scoring game. This probably ends up being like 17-14, right? NFC North rivalry game. Great defensive coordinator on the Vikings side, kind of an untested offense on the other side. Like I could see this being a pretty damn low scoring affair, disappointing quite a few people.
Yeah, I would hope for a bar burner personally. Like, I don't think that the Vikings or the Bears defense scares me all that much. So I think that gives an opportunity for a high scoring game. But yeah, you're probably not wrong that it'll probably be a bit of a letdown. There's gonna be a ton of eyeballs on this game though, because I think a lot of people are curious what the quality of these quarterbacks look like. I think there's a pretty good chance that we see a good DeAndre Swift pop off too. Last year, the Chicago Bears got off to a very hot start, which I think a lot of people forget because they had that like 9 game losing streak in the middle of the season, but they started 4-2. I think DeAndre Swift is typically we've seen as a pretty fast starter, especially a couple of years ago, whenever he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, had a huge week one and kind of parlayed that into some really awesome later season success. So I'm pretty high on DeAndre Swift. I think that reformed offensive line is going to be huge. And we'll also be able to see very quickly, does Ben Johnson still hate him for that drop that he had with the Detroit Lions a few years ago? That would be very interesting to see. Do you think the Vikings, with being shorthanded without Jordan Addison, do you think that's going to affect things?
It definitely affect things. You can't stretch the field the same, right? That's Jordan Addison's there to pull the top off and give Jay Jetta some room. The Bears will be able to kind of condense the field a bit, but I mean, Kevin O'Connell's such a damn good coach. I bet Aaron Jones ends up with like 20 touches and 130 yards or something wild, like a real turn back the clock type performance.
Yeah. Now we're going to see Jordan Mason 40 carries for 40 yards. Very important. Very important.
Hmm.
All
Hmm.
right, 5 hot takes for the season, James. Week one's going to be cinema, but this is for the whole season long. Run me through them, coldest to hottest.
Yep. I think Mike McDaniel, first head coach fired even before Dable, and Dable one hell of a hot seat last week one. I could see week 10. Um, it feels like a year on quarterback Did you get any of those?
Dude, my internet cut out for that whole soliloquy, but I'm sure it's beautiful. And we'll put it on
Did it?
the
Wait, did it
Instagram.
really?
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Oh God, I because whenever your internet cuts out, it means it doesn't get recorded. So
Oh, does it really? I didn't even think about
yeah,
that.
I,
It's
I
all on
I
the
end up
local.
I end up deleting like 10-second clips of empty airs. What happens?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hey, we have a minute and a half. You want to go over that again? People can
Okay,
just read
very
mine.
quick. Mike McDaniel, first coach fired. I think there's a Debo renaissance. I think Derrick Henry hits a cliff. I'd say a non-quarterback MVP. I kind of hinted at Jamar Chase, maybe Jameer Gibbs. Kirk Cousin ends the year as a starter in a Falcons uniform.
I love that last one. That's super fun. Kind of on the inverse, I have the Commanders are going to be actually pretty sucky. I think that they're relying on a lot of veterans that aren't that good. I think the Giants are not going to be half bad. I don't think quite playoff team, but that front four honestly rivals like the '07 front four that they had whenever they beat the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think the Steelers are a playoff team. We've kind of hashed that over, but I think that Aaron Rodgers' revenge tour is going to be pretty real. I think the Bucks are a sleeper Super Bowl team, let alone a playoff team. I think that they could be really awesome. And this maybe not be any hot anymore, but I think the Packers are the 1 seed in the NFC, and they'll supplant the Detroit Lions pretty easily.
It's not hot when you've been saying it for a month.
That's true. I said even before the
Not
Micah trade.
not fresh off the press.
Exactly. All right, James. Talk to you next week.
Yep. See you. Bye, everybody.